Hey everybody, welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies for some places, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and my pronouns are he and him.
I should have mentioned my pronouns are also he and him. And normally this would be the part of the show when Megan identifies herself, but she's not here this week, so filling in for her, we have the lovely Lady Juan, formerly of Screen Fix Pod, currently of Screen Run, and that's the podcast where they talk about a filmmaker for an entire season. It's very cool. You should check it out. Please, the Lady Juan.
Hello, everyone. My pronouns are she, her.
Delightful. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Screen Run?
So Screen Run is the show that I do with Chris Scalzo from the first run. We kind of combined our two show names to come together for a new show, Screen Run. And this season is all about Kevin Smith movies. So we're running through chronologically. Our last episode was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And we are very excited for the return of Bennifer to the zeitgeist as we get ready to talk about Jersey Girl next week.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think we made it happen.
Boy. I heard them talking, and I think that's true.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
And I just want to say, I think that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. Granted, I haven't seen Tusk, or Yoga Hosers, but
maybe keep it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, this week, as per usual, we have new movies on the show. These are all new releases this week. We're going to be talking about The Reckoning, The Djinn, Djinn, not the thing you blend with tonic, and The Killing of Two Lovers. Those are our three movies. So shall we, gang, get right into The Reckoning?
Yes, let's do that.
I want to reckon with these filmmakers, by the way.
Oh, my God.
It's wait a minute. Do we have three? Did we just get three right off the top? I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think we did.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Let's do a quick plot summary.
Yeah. Okay. Evelyn, a young widow haunted by the recent suicide of her husband Joseph, is falsely accused of being a witch by her landlord after she rejects his advances. Again, another accurate description. It does not quite capture the essence of how fucking terrible The Reckoning is, but it is an accurate one-line summary of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, throw in the plague and throw in some kind of small town uprising of the poor against the rich, and then I guess and a guy who's like, they call him the witch finder. And he goes around hunting
Isn't
and
there
burning
like a
witches.
Vincent Price movie about like a witch finder? I think there is.
I think so.
That feels right.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I don't want to say that it's a good idea, mostly because this movie has been made before and better by other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a 45-minute idea that for some reason is almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, how many times are we going to watch the devil fuck this woman? I mean, this is that only works in Rosemary's Baby. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But and also I know it's Neil Marshall who did The Descent. Is it me, or does like Satan or whoever that's supposed to be look like one of the creatures from The Descent? I thought it did. One of the cave dweller cannibal things. But Evan, why don't you lay into this one? I know you have things to say.
This movie's brutal. It is, like you said, David, it might have been a good idea somewhere in here, but it's the same dumb story we've seen over and over again about like people falsely accusing witches and like, punishing innocent women. And it's torturous, both as a movie and part of the plot involves torture. Like there's just lots of torture where this woman is like chained up and they're doing just really fucked up, gross things to her. And it's just like, who wants to watch a movie about that? I certainly don't.
When they get to the medieval gynecology section, I was just like, I can't believe, and thankfully that all happens off screen. But at the same time, it's like, I just tonally though, first of all, On IMDb, it says Evelyn. Her name in the movie is Grace. I don't know
That's
what that's
what
about.
I thought.
Yeah. No, you are correct, and I read it correctly. Just whoever wrote that description,
Was wrong.
was thinking about some other movie for a moment. But one of the things that I wanted to say was her makeup, as in her face, is remarkably well preserved the entire movie.
Yeah.
She's like wearing makeup the whole movie
Yeah.
in 1655.
Very modern makeup. Like she's got like a face
Yes.
for like a TikTok makeup tutorial. She looks flawless the whole time.
Yeah.
No dirt on this woman's face ever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everything else on her is cut, stabbed,
Bloodied.
whatevered, and then she's just got this like flaw, and she's lovely to look at, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I think that something by now, would have made her look slightly more disheveled. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the spike in the foot a half hour ago.
Or the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They keep
that
waking
too.
her up every time she tries to sleep. The other thing, there are just so many things that this is the kind of movie that I think I like the least out of any kind of movie. It's a movie that thinks it's really smart, but is actually really stupid.
Mm.
And when I say that, I mean things like, so there's some kid who is like sympathetic to her because he hates the landlord, who they call Squire, and he smuggles her some bread and he leaves a note with the bread. It's 1655. How does he know how to read? How does she know how to read? I mean,
Where does he
there's
get
no
the paper
way that a
from?
woman who, what's that?
Where did he get the paper from?
Where did he get the paper? Yeah. Where did he get the bread? I mean, Jesus Christ. There is actually a scene where her friend, I can't remember her name, she kills her husband by throwing a rock at the horse's flank, and it runs over it takes off, and the cart that it's pulling runs over his head.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been quite that graphic for real, having, lived with horses and carts and things like that. But when the husband, whatever his fucking name is beating the crap
Asshole.
out of his wife. Yes, asshole is his name. And then he rightfully gets killed. She says to him, though, "Is that all you got?" It's 1655, man. Like, we were probably more likely speaking Latin or French at this point than we were English. I mean, that's just, anyway.
Lady Juan, I want to hear you rip into this movie.
Okay. So any movie that opens with a lot of text on the screen to explain what is about to happen is a red flag for me.
Mhm.
If it is old-timey font, like run.
And you know what? When you go to Microsoft Word, it's actually old-timey. And then there it is.
Yeah. I was just like, oh no, this is immediately going to be bad. Like I lose faith as soon as that starts. That was just 2 red flags from the jump. But so reading it, I was like, okay, so we're going to examine society failing to respond appropriately to a plague. I'm on board with this. This is the world I unfortunately live in. Let's see what parallels there are. No, that didn't happen. I was excited for something that didn't take place. So just so odd, because I feel like if the point of the movie was to make me think that witch trials are, misogynistic and like the society is against women having any control or power or, rights. I already thought that from knowing the history of witch trials. And this movie didn't do anything to convince me of that because, she really is fucking the devil. So I don't know. They were kind of onto something.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know whose side I'm on. Is it the kid? I think I'm just with the kid.
Yeah.
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 Is she really fucking the devil? Yeah, they really
like,
do make you think for a while that she's just hallucinating this because of her lack of sleep and she, or she's losing her grip on reality. But then the devil is actually there. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, is it a stylistic choice, or did they not think about what it would mean, or did they just like, well, it'll just be there. Let's just have him be there. And then we'll have a bunch of people like jump out of the water and attack her, but then they'll disappear.
Yeah.
And then,
demon sex scene. Yeah, we're gonna throw that in. We're gonna throw several sex scenes in there because of course we need that in here.
Yeah.
I would also like to add, by the way, that the woman who plays Grace, her name's Charlotte Kirk. She wrote the screenplay with the director.
What?
So, yes.
Ooh.
She is just as responsible as he for the sex with Satan scenes.
Okay.
Presumably.
Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
one would think that, if your name's on the screenplay and then you're having sex with the devil, that you're like, yeah, okay. I'm on board with this.
Yeah.
I just, man.
Yeah.
There's also an indirect reference to Pretty Woman in this movie. And I'm paraphrasing, but Grace actually says something almost exactly like this. Once you're told something often enough, you believe it. Just as the Pretty Woman herself, Julia Roberts, says, the bad stuff is easier to believe in, one of the tender scenes in Pretty Woman.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Deep cut.
it is a deep cut.
Maybe the
I've
implication
seen Pretty Woman a
is
lot
that,
of times.
Maybe the implication is that she's like the ancestor of Julia Roberts' character. That she's like descendant from this woman who escaped witch
This is
trials.
actually a prequel to Pretty Woman.
Yeah. This takes place in the Pretty Woman universe. Like, that's it. Where it's
Whoa.
all the same thing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm currently the
And just
head exploding emoji.
Oh man. I mean,
We can't confirm it's not true. Like,
that's true. That's true. The last thing I wanted to say, strictly from this isn't really plot necessarily, but so Grace escapes she sets the place on fire. She kind of nails her torturer to a table with a couple of the spikes that he used to torture her earlier. And then she swims. She goes into like the waste system that empties out into the river, like you do. And she comes out of the river completely dry,
yes.
wearing a dress that, if it had been in the water, probably would have drowned her.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wonder what these people were fucking thinking, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Ugh. Yeah.
The baby was cute. I'll give the movie that. Good baby casting.
Uh-huh. Great job, baby.
Yeah. Oh, well, and also, how does Grace have the strength to walk anytime she has to walk? I mean, she gets stabbed in the foot with a needle that's at least 4 inches long.
Yeah.
So, like, that probably went into, the Achilles tendon. I mean, gross. So,
Yeah.
I don't understand these things.
She's been severely tortured, and then she swims through a sewage system in the 1600s. She's going to die within days. Like, she's infected. Like, she's not going to come out of this. Like,
Yeah.
They don't have the medicine for whatever kind of infection she's gotten from going through that system.
No,
All
they
good
don't.
points.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking on multiple fronts in this movie. And it's weird to have a plague as a side plot. That never,
Yeah.
I mean, it borders on something interesting because they in multiple points in the movie use biological warfare. Essentially, like the squire poisons the husband's drink with like the plague guy's germs and kills her husband in the beginning, and then later she has the I don't even know what to call him, the boy who's helping her,
Yeah.
take blood from a dead guy who had the plague and pour it in a wine chalice. And I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. And I thought the plot line involving the woman who survived burning at the stake and then became like the witchfinder's like right hand, I thought that could have been an interesting thing, but then that also never went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's just kind of there. She does stab one guy to death, but other than that,
Yeah. Yeah. And I also kind of wondered, like, the biological thing, that's cool, but like, did they actually believe any of that then? Isn't that the whole reason why it was rampant, is because they really had no concept of how it was
transmitted?
Going from person to person. So we know that that's a great way to poison someone with it, but did they know anything? I don't know. It seemed like a lucky idea that they had.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. A lucky idea and not at all plausible. And also, just as far as, since we're pissing all over this thing as we should, the production design is just like everything is just too clean and neat and squared away. Like even the gross, disgusting prison that she's in during her trial in air quotes, looks like it could be a set for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Walt Disney World in Orlando.
What I thought. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is getting disinfected 4 times a day.
Yeah. I've been on that ride probably 24 times in my life. And each time I just imagine the guys like reaching through the bars. Each time I was watching this movie and she went back into the prison, I imagine the guys reaching through the bars trying to coax the dog over who's got the key in his mouth. Yeah. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Everything was very clean.
Everything was very clean. Even the dirt was clean. Name that paraphrasement. Okay.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, does anybody have anything they want to add before we move on? Because I mean, I have a feeling that if we really got into it, we could go on this movie for quite a while. But I think it's fair to just say it sucks. Skip it.
Yeah.
So, hey, Lady Juan, that was your first experience on Spoiler Piece watching a movie, and it was terrible, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. Highs and lows.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, the next movie on our list is The Djinn, Djinn, from IFC Midnight. This is, let me bring up my IMDb page here. This is a movie about a djinn. No, a mute boy is trapped in his apartment with a sinister monster when he makes a wish to fulfill his heart's greatest desire. Again, true. And there actually really isn't that much more to it than that, really.
No.
It's kind of like, let's play hide and seek with the djinn.
Yeah. So he moves into this new house with his dad, and he finds this book where he learns how to do a ritual so that he can summon the djinn who will grant him a wish. And then the premise is that after he summons it, he has an hour basically to stay alive. And if he does, and he can blow out this candle that he's lit, then he gets his wish. His wish will come true. But we've seen this kind of story in terms of like, be careful what you wish for. We know the monkey paw. We know other similar stories. So there's always going to be a twist. And that's, of course, what does eventually happen in the movie.
Well, and he's made aware of the twist. He keeps going back to the book to read more stuff, and he gets, which is kind of a crummy plot device, but I thought. But he does know from the beginning, hey, the djinn is going to fuck with you. So he knows he's got an hour and the candles and all that stuff. And I thought some of the cat and mouse stuff was actually pretty effective, and the kid was inventive, and the kid was a good actor. I really thought the kid was believable. His name in the movie is Dylan, because of course it is, because he was born in the 21st century. And the djinn can take the physical form of basically any dead person that he knows. So the djinn shows up as his dead mother. The djinn shows up as the previous homeowner who left all the satanic ritual stuff that the kid finds.
As the serial killer that's in the newspaper. He's able to like basically take an image, because that's how he gets the dead guy the guy who died in the apartment. Is there's like a photo of him around somewhere, and it kind of swirls around and then transforms into him. Yeah.
And the kid also learns that he can, while the djinn is, not in the shadow realm, which is what he rules, when he's in the earthly realm, shades of Mortal Kombat, he can basically be hurt. And while he's not in the shadow realm, he'll, the kid sprays a bunch of stuff that blinds the djinn at some point, and he's like walking around feeling for the kid, blind, and it's like, oh, hey, he's sort of human, kind of, the djinn, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think, Lady Juan?
So this movie lives and dies with the kid's performance, right? Like if this kid isn't absolutely perfect, what are you watching? But he really is. I thought he was really great. I thought his performance was heartfelt and emotional. I I thought he was really, really good. And I was legitimately like scared throughout parts of this movie. I'm a big scaredy cat. I was very anxious watching this alone.
Oh no.
Oh, alone.
And we
Ooh.
made you watch 2 horror movies this week. Yikes.
Yeah. Well, I watched one in the daytime, so that was fine. But then this one, I watched alone in my room, and I was very afraid.
Yeah. And I thought that the Djinn was at its scariest when it took the form of his mother.
Yeah.
But to the movie's credit, he never fell for the Djinn's like, oh, it's really mom kind of stuff. He was always like, no, fuck you, Djinn. And to the point where he slices both of the Djinn's Achilles tendons.
Yeah.
Thankfully off screen.
Right. But then it gets caught by it and almost strangled to death, which is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he hit it? He hits it with something. Yeah, he picks up something and hits it. That's it. It will not surprise you to know that I thought this movie was a lot of fun for about 77 of its 82 minutes until it decided to break its own rules. And that made me really, really mad. At no point, I know, Evan, you said at the beginning, this is like the monkey's paw, be careful what you wish for. And I kept thinking about the monkey's paw the whole time too. But at no point in the book does it say, you made it through the hour, you blew out the candle, but you still got to watch out.
Yeah.
There's none of that. So when the Djinn shows up the next day and crushes his father's windpipe and gives his father's voice so that he may have one, I was just super fucking pissed. I was so angry.
But it did say in the book, though, that whatever wish you make, even if you get it, it's still going to have a twist to it.
It said maybe it would.
Yeah.
It said like, you know, and I kind of feel like if the Djinn wasn't an asshole, he would be like, you know what, kid, you beat me at my own game. Here's your voice.
Yeah. You earned it.
Yeah. Instead, you bested me. I'm the one with the magical powers. And yet you, mute 12-year-old boy, were able to best me. So here's your voice. Enjoy it. Sorry, your mom's dead.
Yeah.
None of that.
I did think too that because he learns the devastating lesson that he couldn't have stopped his mom's suicide, then I was like, okay, well, we went through some trauma, we went through some healing. Okay, we're going to be all right. And I was also very upset that things just didn't work out for this poor kid.
Yeah. I just thought it was, and this is such a stupid thing to say about a horror movie, but I just thought it was unnecessarily cruel. You know, it's just like the kid's mother shot herself in the head, which, by the way, if you look at the statistics, is like one of the least likely ways a woman is going to kill herself, but that's fine. Well, it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that. Actually, I do know why I know that. But anyway, so there's that. He survived his mom's suicide, just like you were saying. And his dad's a disc jockey. So now his dad can't work.
Right. Yeah. I thought that made it all the more and his dad had a cool voice too. Like he actually had a great voice for radio.
Yeah.
So it was just, I found that I think now, Evan, you may have extrapolated from the book that the kid, you know, still had to like watch over his shoulder, but I didn't take that away. So it just made me mad.
Fair enough. I really liked this movie quite a bit. It was, like you both have said, the kid who's in this movie, Ezra Dewey, he is great. And if his performance was bad, it definitely would not have worked. But he's great. And the film really plays with the space really well, because we find out that he's trapped inside the apartment and he can't leave. He tries to smash the window, and then it kind of starts healing, and he tries to yank open the door and he can't. So I love that he's trapped in the space, and we see him kind of running around this basically like 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. And
I liked that the Djinn could transform, and I liked that he didn't fall for, you know, when it turned into his mom. And I also liked that the injuries it sustained were carried over in different forms. So like when he blinded it initially, when it became his mom, it was still blind. I thought that was really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
This is kind of like almost like an R-rated Home Alone. Like this kid here who's actually like inflicting real damage and not using like Rube Goldberg machines to injure people.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I liked about it.
Would have been great if the Djinn had been Daniel Stern for like one scene. But remind me, Evan, because you've seen Home Alone more than I have. Is there a hot doorknob in Home Alone?
Yeah. Joe Pesci
Yeah.
has to deal with that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The old hot doorknob. Sorry, I don't know why that's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that you said about why you liked it, those are all things I like too. Now I could be wrong. Somebody out there might be like, no, Dave, that you should know, even if it didn't say explicitly that the Djinn is going to come back and screw you, that it will. I just felt like it's not as bad as, Marty McFly all of a sudden, getting angry when everybody calls him chicken.
Yeah, I know you.
You don't know that about me, do you, Lady Wan?
I have to tell you, one time out of the blue, my dad texted me and said, "Why does Marty get mad when they call him chicken? It's nowhere established." And I was like, "Dad, I can't do this." I was like, "Please don't ruin this for me. I don't want to think about how it doesn't make any sense."
I know. Yeah, it's retconning is a big problem for me. So, I mean, and this isn't really a retcon. This is just kind of like it set out rules and then it altered them. Which I guess, if you're the Djinn, you can do that. But still a super bummer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hasn't this kid been through enough?
Yeah, exactly. Now he's okay. He couldn't have prevented his mom's death, but he could have prevented his dad from like losing his speaking voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you have final thoughts? Because Evan was quite verbose in his love for the Djinn.
Oh, shucks.
I gotta say, the tension was high. I thought the effects were cool, and I was really digging like the synth music throughout because we're in the 80s, right?
Super cool music. Mm-hmm.
It was like perfect for setting the mood, but like not distracting from it. I really, really liked that.
Great point about the score. I had forgotten about how good it was.
Yeah, I looked up a couple of the tracks and, some of them are score and then some of them are pop songs that are like recent, but like that kind of trend that's going on in the last few years that things sound like 80s stuff. Ever since Drive. Is Drive the first movie that did that? I don't know. But
yeah, I'd say combination of Drive maybe and the Stranger Things effect. I feel like everybody's trying to ape the Stranger Things like music. True. And there are definitely moments in here that are similar or like almost butting up against that like theme.
Interesting that you say that because I still haven't seen a single episode of Stranger Things. So, well, Evan has told me children in peril, so I'm like, nope. So
yeah, I know you got to draw a line in there.
Yeah,
when it comes to kids in danger,
I do. So that's why I still haven't seen The Nightingale. So anyway. I think that's it for the Djinn. It sounds like we all kind of dug it. I think the ending was a little bit more of a bummer. I think, Lady Wan, you kind of agree with me.
I do. Yeah. I felt for that kid. Little Dylan.
Yeah, I know. Good looking kid, good actor, survived like the fucking R-rated Home Alone, to borrow a phrase from Evan. And then his dad's radio voice is gone. Ugh.
Oh, God.
It's a pisser.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that being said, speaking of pissers, let's move. I don't know why. I don't want to put any onus on The Killing of Two Lovers, our last movie of the night. It's not a pisser. Remove that. Rewind. Okay. The Killing of Two Lovers is a movie about two lovers who get killed. No.
Nope. No one is killed in the making of this movie.
David desperately tries to keep his family of 6 together during a separation from his wife. They both agree to see other people, but David struggles to grapple with his wife's new relationship. That's part of it. That's mostly correct.
Yeah.
It's half true.
Yeah.
I mean, those two sentences are true.
Yeah. And then there's an element of him. I mean, I think one of the reasons why this film it's so tense and it's so emotional is he's moved in with his dad and his dad lives like 2 houses down the street. Like
so close.
Like all of this movie or a good portion of this movie happens in a very small neighborhood. And I feel like that adds an element of tension to it. It's just, he's there at his dad's house. His dad is sick and he's like kind of living there, kind of taking care of him. but like he's steps away essentially from his house. And there's that scene where he like drives around the corner to like the convenience store, and you can see his house from the parking lot, or their house, the family's house, from the parking lot of the. So it's just, it all takes place in this like really small neighborhood, and it gives it so much emotional weight of having this like really contained thing. And also the fact that it's 4:3 aspect ratio makes it feel that much more tense.
What is it with the 4:3 lately, by the way?
I
Like
don't
the
know.
last 3 or 4 years, it's just everywhere. It's like, I don't miss pan and scan. So can we stop this, please? I mean, it worked in the Paul Schrader movie where Ethan Hawke is the priest. I can't remember the name of it.
First Reformed.
Thank you. First Reformed.
Oh.
It worked in that. And it works in this for that matter. I mean, it does serve its purpose. But because you are our guest, Lady Juan, and because we haven't let you go first, why don't you tell us what you thought of The Killing of Two Lovers?
I mean, I have to agree that the whole movie it's in this very small space. It feels like, the whole world is 3 square blocks. Because of that, you can't like get away from any kind of feeling in it at all. I felt like the movie did a really good job of putting me in the mindset of our main character, David, because I wasn't sure at any point where I stood or what was going to happen next. I was just kind of off balance the whole time. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is good filmmaking because that's how he feels. So I get it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely add on to that. I think that the score is extremely unsettling, and there's lots of just odd notes in the score, or things that sound like snapping or grunting or like hitting things. And it really, for me, it held my attention. I don't know if it paid off for me, but I definitely held my attention. I kept wondering where it was going and what was going to happen because I just didn't know. Like, especially with the opening scene, he's standing over the bed, over his wife and her new boyfriend in bed, and he's holding a gun. And he's pointing a gun at both of them, and he can't bring himself to shoot either of them. But like, that's the opening scene. We see him sneaking out of the house and running back to his dad's house down the street. And right away, you're like, oh my God, with the title, with the movie, what is going to happen? Are people going to end up dead? Is he going to end up dead? Like, what is going down here?
Interesting.
Yeah. I honestly, I had to watch the opening scene twice to start because I was like, wait, did he do it? Wait, what happened? What are these noises that's happening while he's driving down the street? And then I was like, wait, do I need to know how far he drove? What's happening? I'm bad at geography. I don't know what's going on. And I had that feeling of tension throughout where I was just like, I don't know what's about to happen at all, at any point.
Yeah. I agree with you both in that aspect of the film was really well done. I think it was well paced, well edited. I agree with you both that the score, there were a couple times when I thought it was just a noise in my house. And then I was like, oh no, wait, that's the movie because I live alone and there's nothing, whatever. But I think I had a real problem with, you have that opening scene where you have your protagonist 3 seconds away from maybe shooting his wife and her boyfriend while his 4 children are in the house. And then he decides he can't go through with it. Good thing. And he runs home. And then I just couldn't get past the idea that I'm supposed to feel sorry for this asshole who's just almost murdered the mother of his children and her boyfriend because he's pissed off that she's fucking someone new and he's not. Fuck this guy. I mean, when spouses split up, it's different for everybody. These things I know, but I'm pretty sure that there's really never a good time to maybe sort of thinking about sneaking into your own house and killing your soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yeah.
It's frowned upon.
Especially when you have 4 kids, 3 of whom are very young. I mean, it doesn't matter. The 15-year-old, that's bad too.
It's a jarring way to start the movie. I agree. It's weird too, because like, that I think is the most unlikable moment with this character. Like in every other interaction, to me, he is the reasonable one and is like not, like flying off the handle, with the exception of maybe like waking up his kids in the middle of the night. But I thought that was kind of fun. Like if I was the kid, I'd be like, yeah, let's go outside. Let's look at the stars. I mean, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they thought,
But yeah, it's a jarring way to start the movie. And we don't know anything about their relationship leading up to this. So I kept wondering, like, are they going to turn him into the sympathetic character? And then I'm going to find out later that he was like an abusive piece of shit. And that's why they're like not together, or, So
Right.
I think it's interesting that we don't know why they're in the situation, for starters. But I think when we see them in it, it is really effective, at least for me.
I thought the lead actor was really, really good. He's in a lot of one shots.
did too.
And
Yeah.
I mean, he has to go from getting beat up to driving a car in one take. And also
and falling and passing out at the wheel.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. And also just maintaining everything else about his performance. I thought he was really incredible. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he gave a great performance too.
Clayne Crawford, right? That's his name.
Yes. Yep. I think he's one of the producers too.
Mhm.
I just couldn't get past. This is part of my problem with the movie. I don't think that you could say that. His wife, whose name I can't remember, is it Nikki? Is that her name? I don't think you can say she's objectively shitty. I think but the movie does try to posit that she's less reasonable than he is, which I didn't really like, considering he tried to kill her in the first scene.
I guess she doesn't know that. So,
Well, she doesn't know that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I saw like the moment that the new boyfriend in that final scene says, "Hey, is everything okay here?" When he stepped into that, I knew what the end of the movie was. The only thing that surprised me was that he didn't accidentally kill one of them when he like fired blindly later.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to, when he hallucinated that the boyfriend had followed him, but it was actually his wife who had followed him. I thought for sure she's going to end up, with a shot in the gut or something like that.
Yeah.
No, but instead, off screen, the wife breaks up with the boyfriend and the family's back together. And this is like, I know that the boyfriend is a piece of shit and he beat the shit out of you, but you took 2 shots at your wife, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was pretty fucked up. Like, he had no clue what he was doing or where he was going. Like,
well, this is why he shouldn't own a gun, but that's another story.
Yes.
He clearly had like a concussion or something. Like he was just blindly firing. I don't know. I kept thinking, okay, the title is The Killing of Two Lovers. And I thought that maybe like toward the end, there's that kind of like haunting wide shot of the family packing up the car after being in the hardware store. I was like, oh, maybe the boyfriend will show up and he'll kill them. And that's how this movie is going to end. But no, just bait and switch on the old title there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that their relationship is dead and they're together only for the children. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But,
I also don't know how they all fit in that truck.
Yes.
Like when they're piling in, I'm like, how?
There's the scene where the 4 kids are with him in the truck and it's really, really, really tight. And you're like, wait a minute. First of all, this is totally against the law. Yes. Second, like they're not going to a circus. So I don't see any clown makeup. I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think there are a lot of effective things about this movie, but I think the characterization leaves me a little bit cold is the kind of where I come down.
Fair enough.
Despite a very strong, to agree with you, Lady Juan, a very strong lead performance by David. Oh, and you said that too, Evan, by Clayne Crawford as David. So, I think this movie just likes men a little too much. I don't know. I think it's a little bit too airs on the side of toxic masculinity is okay, even though David isn't a classic alpha male bro or anything like that.
Mm.
He's just trying to do his best while almost killing his wife twice. So I know that maybe is a little bit binary, but
Yeah,
I don't
fair.
know. Yeah. I dug the cinematography in this movie too. I thought there was some really effective cinematography. Like the scene where they're in the truck on date night, I thought was a really great looking scene. Like seeing them both kind of like sitting there, getting those like extreme close ups on their faces while they were talking. And Lady Wan, to your point, there's a lot of like long takes in the film that I think are really effective. Like sitting in the truck for their entire ride to the park, I think. Was a really effective scene and showing us these people's lives. I don't know. I felt a little bit, I don't know, let down is the right word by how it all came together, but it felt kind of rushed to me, and it felt maybe a little bit anticlimactic given how things had escalated to such a degree. But anyway.
Yeah. I think the story overall is claustrophobic and like you said, anticlimactic, but I think that's kind of David's life, right? It's just like small and doesn't really go anywhere great, but that's just it is. That's what he's living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lady Wan, I have to take issue with how excellent you are at reviewing these movies because you're making me look really bad. So you're not allowed to be a guest on the show and be better than one of the hosts.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this, like, whoa, that was deep, man.
Yeah. Like I'm sitting here being like, he's angry because his wife has got a boyfriend, and you're like, well, his life is very claustrophobic, and it's like, oh god, good old redneck Dave showing up for Spoiler Piece this week. Oh well. Yeah. Any final thoughts, gang, on the killing of two lovers?
Shout out to the late great Mitch Hedberg and his dad accessible jokes. It was nice to see those mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was happy to. Yes. And then I was just recalling some of my favorite Mitch Hedberg jokes. Like, I don't have a microwave. I have a clock that occasionally cooks shit.
Yeah. Mitch. Okay. So, well, that just about wraps it up for this episode of Spoiler Piece. To recap, The Reckoning, that's available on Shudder if you all have Shudder. I think that the three of us would agree that it's a hard pass.
Yes.
Okay. The Djinn, that is in theaters, and I think it's only in theaters. I think it comes out on demand in a couple of weeks. Everybody, weigh in.
Yeah, see it.
Yeah, give it a go.
Okay. Yeah, I give it a go-ish.
Okay-ish.
You know, it's quarantine, so it's over now if you're vaccinated. So, you know, go see a movie, go see The Djinn. And The Killing of Two Lovers. It sounds like you two are more into it than I am. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say see it. I mean, I didn't
feeling
love it, but I still think it's worth seeing.
I agree with you both that it looks good and the editing's very good and that score is good and David's performance is good. But and aside from my weird grunting there, that is in theaters and on demand. All those movies are new. Please check them out if you can. And that is this week's episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. I want to thank the Lady Wan for filling in for Megan this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. This was fun.
Yeah. And just to remind everybody, her podcast is called Screen Run. And if you want to follow on Twitter, well, she can tell you all that later, but it's at the Lady Wan. But anyway, let me tell you some other things. You know where you can see the movies. You know they're all coming out. I want to give a thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor. Thanks very much, Otto, for doing a job that neither Evan nor I want to do. You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. You can find us at our website, that's spoilerpiece.com. If you want to follow us on social media, that's Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you'd like to get in touch with us and tell us, David, that's me. It's totally reasonable that David, the film character, would want to kill his soon-to-be ex-wife and boyfriend. Then you can email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
And you can say, Dave, it was just a moment. It passed, and then he went back to normal. Okay. So, and if you like the show, that's this show, Spoiler Piece, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. This week's exclusive audio, we cover the cult classic Alex Cox film Repo Man, starring Harry Dean Stanton and Emilio Estevez and a whole lot of other people in small parts.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And we'd also like to give a thank you to our patrons.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Bill Scahan, Sean Pensionar, Christopher Jensen, Bob Chipman, Charlie Nash, Davida Margolin, Zach Pigeon, Chris Wilkinson, Max Colville, Shona Glasgow, Rory Glenn, Shelley McCaskill, Mike, Lord of the Sith, Deirdre Crimmins, and Shauna Harris.
Thanks, patrons. Lady Juan, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, et cetera, while we're signing off?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at the Lady Juan. You can find my show Screen Run at Screen Run on Twitter. And you can check us out at screenrun.fun. The coolest URL on the web.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Screenrun.fun.
.fun.
I remember when I found that the other day, I was like, .fun is a fucking what?
That was my choice.
Oh my God. Good choice, I think.
Thanks.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about some movies for some places. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Dave Sees Movies. Thanks very much.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living. You can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.